Near a massive waterfall, a humanoid alien watches a starship ascend into the sky, leaving the planet behind. The alien retrieves a pot containing a mysterious black liquid and drinks it. The liquid quickly overtakes its body, turning its skin black and disintegrating its DNA. The alien collapses into the water, its body dissolving completely, while its DNA disperses into the current. Fast forward to 2089, where archaeologists Dr. Elizabeth Shaw and Dr. Charlie Holloway uncover ancient cave paintings in Scotland. The artwork, dating back at least 35,000 years, depicts a configuration they've seen before in paintings from unrelated cultures worldwide. This discovery fuels their belief in a shared ancient origin. 2 years later, the starship Prometheus embarks on a mission funded by the Weyland Corporation. The crew, consisting of scientists and mercenaries, remains in cryosleep while David, a sophisticated android, oversees the journey. In his free time, David delves into human culture, playing sports, watching films, dyeing his hair, and mastering ancient languages. He even monitors the crew's dreams, including Elizabeth's childhood memory of her father explaining diverse cultural beliefs about death during a tribal burial ritual. After 2 years of travel, Prometheus reaches its destination. David awakens the crew, who take time to recover from cryosleep's effects. Among them is Captain Yannick, who sets up a Christmas tree to lift spirits, much to the annoyance of Meredith Vickers, the stern mission overseer. The crew gathers for a mission briefing led by a holographic message from Peter Weyland, the CEO of Weyland Corporation. Peter explains that by the time they see this recording, he will already be dead. He introduces David as the closest thing to a son he ever had, and reveals his lifelong quest to uncover humanity's origins and what lies beyond death. Inspired by Elizabeth and Charlie's findings, Peter funded this expedition to seek answers. Elizabeth and Charlie present their findings. The star maps depicted in the ancient paintings point to a distant planet orbiting a sun capable of supporting life, the very place they have now reached. Elizabeth theorizes that the beings who left these maps, whom she calls engineers, created humankind. The crew, however, remains skeptical. Later, Meredith summons the doctors to her private quarters, revealing a high-tech medical pod and self-contained life support system, hinting at her own hidden priorities. Meredith bluntly shares her skepticism about the significance of the cave paintings, claiming she's only here to fulfill Peter's vision and ensure the mission's funding isn't wasted. She warns the doctors against initiating contact with any potential alien life, leaving them questioning the purpose of the mission. Meanwhile, David, having spent 2 years mastering ancient languages, expresses confidence in his ability to communicate with the engineers. However, when he sends a message to the planet, there's no response. The crew decides it's time to land. As the ship enters the atmosphere, they detect no heat signatures or radio signals, apparent signs of no existing civilization. But Charlie spots unnatural straight lines on the surface, leading the team to land at that exact spot. They prepare for their expedition, with David donning a spacesuit to blend in, despite not needing one. Using vehicles, the team reaches a dome-like structure. Geologist Fifield, unsure whether it's natural or artificial, confirms it's hollow. Inside, he deploys probes to map the area, revealing a labyrinth of corridors. Deeper within, the group discovers heated water and acceptable CO2 levels, making the air breathable. Charlie boldly removes his helmet to test the air, and when nothing happens, the rest of the crew follows suit. David's curiosity leads him to a wall coated with strange goo and ancient symbols. Using his linguistic skills, he activates it, triggering a holographic replay of alien figures fleeing through the corridors. The crew follows the spectral images and stumbles upon the corpse of an alien near a sealed door. Sensing the rising danger, Fifield decides he isn't needed and leaves with biologist Milburn, retreating to the ship. While the doctors examine the alien body, David unlocks the sealed door, revealing the alien's preserved head. Further exploration uncovers more alien corpses, suggesting the species is extinct. Within the chamber, the crew finds worms crawling amidst a towering humanoid head statue, intricate murals, and rows of stone cylinders. David notices the cylinders sweating, and one starts oozing a black organic substance. Elizabeth, engrossed by the changing murals, theorizes that their presence has altered the room's atmosphere. Alarmed, she and Charlie decide to bag the alien head for study. Unnoticed by the others, David secretly pockets one of the cylinders, concluding the chamber is a tomb. At that moment, Captain Yannick alerts the team to an approaching deadly storm. urging them to return to the ship immediately. Meredith gives the crew a strict 15-minute deadline to return before she seals the ramp. The team rushes out of the cave, racing back to the ship as the storm bears down on them. During the frantic escape, the alien head tumbles off the vehicle. Without hesitation, Elizabeth runs back to retrieve it, only to be caught in the storm. Charlie attempts to rescue her by driving into the chaos, but gets stuck himself. David intervenes, using wires to pull them both to safety just as the storm overtakes them. Back on the ship, the crew begins decontaminating in the hangar, only to realize that Milburn and Fifield are missing. They discover the two scientists are lost inside the cave. Captain Yannick contacts them, explaining that the raging storm prevents a rescue until morning. Meanwhile, the team focuses on sterilizing the alien head. A scan reveals it isn't an exoskeleton, it's a helmet. When they remove it, they find a humanoid alien head beneath, with strange, shifting cells on its forehead. The team uses a stem line to stimulate the brain, attempting to make it think it's alive. Initially, the experiment works. The face begins to move, but overstimulation causes the head to violently explode. Elizabeth examines a sample from the head and makes a groundbreaking discovery. Its DNA matches human DNA. This confirms her theory that these beings created humanity. Meanwhile, David secretly reports to a mysterious figure in a cryosleep pod, known only to Meredith. When Meredith confronts David about the conversation, he cryptically replies that they were instructed to try harder. David inspects the cylinder he secretly brought back, finding it filled with capsules of black liquid. Intrigued, he hatches a plan and later shares a drink with Charlie, subtly introducing the liquid into Charlie's glass. As they talk, they ponder how far they'd go to uncover the truth. Later, Charlie joins Elizabeth, and they celebrate her DNA discovery with a passionate night together. Back in the cave, Milburn and Fifield come across a chilling sight, a pile of alien bodies. Yannick contacts them, warning that the scanner has detected a life form nearby. As they grow increasingly anxious, the ping vanishes, which Yannick attributes to a glitch. Pressing on, the pair finds the monolithic room filled with black liquid oozing from the cylinders. To their shock, they spot a reptile-like alien swimming in the fluid. When Milburn approaches, the creature latches onto his arm, attempting to break it. Fifield frantically cuts the creature off, but the alien sprays corrosive fluid that burns through his helmet, melting onto his face. In agony, Fifield collapses as the creature slips into Milburn's suit, ultimately killing him. Morning comes, and Charlie awakens feeling unwell, noticing something unsettling in his eyes. Yannick alerts the crew that the storm has passed, but he still cannot contact the scientists. Preparing for a search, David volunteers to investigate the scanner glitch, promising to fix it. However, once inside the cave, David deliberately separates from the group, charting his own path and sending a private recording of his discoveries to Meredith. David ventures deeper into the alien structure, discovering a chamber filled with thousands of cylinders and alien armor. As he explores further, he finds another room containing cryosleep capsules. After cutting off his transmission to Meredith, David activates a central machine, which projects holograms of the engineers examining a star map that prominently features Earth. When the projection ends, David notices one of the capsules glowing. It holds a live engineer in suspended animation. Meanwhile, during the crew's search, Charlie's condition worsens, causing him to stumble frequently. Elizabeth notices his deteriorating state and insists he's unwell, but Charlie presses on. The team eventually stumbles upon Milburn's lifeless body. As they approach to investigate, the small reptile-like alien bursts out of Milburn's remains and quickly slithers away. However, Fifield is nowhere to be found. At this point, Charlie becomes visibly sicker, prompting Elizabeth to order the group to return to the ship for quarantine. By the time they reach the ship, Charlie's skin is turning black, a horrifying transformation taking hold. Meredith intercepts them at the hangar, armed with a flamethrower, refusing to let Charlie aboard. A heated argument ensues between Meredith, Yannick, and Elizabeth, but Charlie, realizing his fate is sealed, willingly walks toward Meredith, forcing her to incinerate him. Elizabeth is devastated, helplessly watching as Charlie is reduced to ashes. The crew is immediately quarantined, and David runs tests on Elizabeth to ensure she hasn't been infected. The scans, however, reveal an unexpected and chilling result. Elizabeth is 3 months pregnant, an impossibility given her cryosleep. What's worse, the fetus has a grotesque alien form. Elizabeth demands its removal, but David coldly informs her that the ship lacks the necessary personnel and equipment for such a procedure. Suddenly, Elizabeth doubles over in excruciating pain. David administers a sedative, causing her to lose consciousness. Elizabeth awakens later to find crew members preparing to place her in a cryosleep capsule, planning to delay any decisions about the fetus. Panicking, Elizabeth fights off her captors and escapes, eventually finding Meredith's advanced medical pod. She requests a cesarean, but the pod is calibrated for male anatomy and denies the request. Thinking quickly, Elizabeth reprograms it to extract a foreign object from her body. The machine initiates the procedure, administering insufficient anesthesia. Elizabeth endures searing pain as the mechanical claw removes the alien fetus, revealing a grotesque, tentacled creature. The alien thrashes violently in an attempt to free itself. Elizabeth, in immense agony, holds on until the pod completes stitching her wound. Once the procedure ends, she locks the alien inside the pod, leaving it to be subdued by the anesthetics. Meanwhile, back at the hangar, Yannick notices a strange figure approaching the ship. A crew member investigates, only to find a horrifyingly mutated Fifield. The transformed scientist is now monstrous and aggressive, launching a brutal attack on the crew. A chaotic battle ensues, with bullets proving useless against Fifield's altered form. In the end, the crew resorts to using a flamethrower to subdue and kill the rampaging creature. Elizabeth, still recovering, stumbles through the corridors of the ship until she reaches the infirmary. There, she's shocked to find Peter Weyland alive, revealed as the passenger in the extra cryo-sleep pod David had been tending to. The medical pod was meant for him. Peter, driven by a deep desire to confront his creator, intends to meet the surviving engineer, demanding answers about life and death. Elizabeth tries to warn him about the dangers of the planet, but her cautions fall on deaf ears. Determined not to be ignored, Elizabeth musters her strength, suits up, and prepares to return to the cave. As Elizabeth readies herself, Yannick confronts her, theorizing that this isn't the engineer's homeworld but a military installation where the black liquid was being developed as a weapon of mass destruction. It likely leaked, wiping out its creators. Yannick urges her to abandon the mission and return to Earth, but Elizabeth insists on trying to communicate with the surviving engineer. Meanwhile, Meredith attempts to dissuade Peter, pleading with him not to throw his life away. Addressing him as father, she reveals her familial ties, but Peter coldly dismisses her concerns. The crew returns to the cave with David leading the way. He instructs them to remove their helmets, claiming the airborne contamination is not a threat, indirectly admitting he spiked Charlie's drink with the black liquid. As they explore further, the crew reaches a massive chamber filled with thousands of cylinders. David identifies it as a cargo hold, and new scans reveal an unsettling truth. This isn't a cave, it's a derelict starship. David activates a console, showing that the engineers had planned to travel to Earth, but were undone by the black liquid, which decimated them. David wakes the last engineer from cryosleep. Elizabeth attempts to question it, but Peter silences her with a mercenary's forceful intervention, demanding answers to his philosophical questions. Speaking through David in Proto-Indo-European, Peter asks about the purpose of life and humanity's creation. The engineer's response is one of violent rejection. It decapitates David and uses his severed head to bludgeon Peter to death. Chaos erupts as the engineer turns on the remaining mercenaries, who futilely fire their weapons and throws Elizabeth aside. Back aboard Prometheus, Meredith witnesses Peter's gruesome death through David's still-active cameras. She orders Yannick to prepare for an immediate departure, but Elizabeth, now on the run from the rampaging engineer, radios the ship with a dire warning. The engineer has activated its starship and intends to take the black liquid to Earth, spelling doom for humanity. Yannick, understanding the stakes, devises a desperate plan. Despite Meredith's insistence on fleeing, Yannick resolves to stop the engineer. He orders his crew to prime the ship's ion propulsion, transforming Prometheus into a missile. Meredith abandons the ship, escaping in a separate module. Yannick offers the same option to his pilots, but they choose loyalty, staying to aid their captain in the suicide mission. As the engineer's ship takes flight, Prometheus crashes into it midair, unleashing a fiery explosion that brings both vessels down. The impact successfully prevents the engineer from reaching Earth, averting the catastrophic spread of the black liquid. The wreckage of the two massive ships begins crashing to the ground, sending Elizabeth and Meredith into a desperate sprint for survival. Elizabeth finds shelter beside a sturdy rock, barely escaping the deadly impact. Meredith, however, isn't quick enough and is crushed beneath the falling debris. Shaken but alive, Elizabeth makes her way back into Prometheus, scavenging for supplies. As she moves through the wreckage, faint noises echo from deeper within the ship. Grabbing an axe to defend herself, she cautiously investigates, only to discover that her alien offspring, created from the horrifying events earlier, has escaped the medical pod and grown to a monstrous size. Before Elizabeth can process this, David's voice crackles to life through a nearby speaker, urgently warning her to run. But it's too late. The surviving engineer appears, towering and enraged, slamming Elizabeth against the wall in an attempt to kill her. Thinking quickly, Elizabeth triggers the door behind her, releasing the alien offspring. The creature lunges at the engineer, its monstrous form overpowering him. Elizabeth seizes the moment to escape, watching as her offspring drives a grotesque ovipositor into the engineer's throat, subduing him in a horrific display of dominance. Outside the ship, Elizabeth collapses, trembling from the ordeal, only to be contacted by David once again. He reveals a shocking truth. There are more engineer ships hidden beneath the planet's surface, and he can pilot one. With no other options, Elizabeth retrieves David's head and body, but she has a final request. Rather than returning to Earth, she demands they travel to the engineer's homeworld. She needs answers. David, though puzzled by her resolve, agrees. Before departing, Elizabeth records a somber message to Earth from the wreckage of Prometheus, detailing the events and warning of the dangers she's uncovered. As their alien ship lifts off, leaving the desolate planet behind, a chilling revelation unfolds. From the lifeless body of the engineer, a black alien creature emerges, a horrifying new life form, its appearance a harbinger of the nightmare to come. And thus, the story ties into the dark legacy that would one day lead to Ripley's tale. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more gripping recaps like this. Thanks for watching.